Tell us, how are things going in the state of Georgia right now from your perspective?
I think they're going very well considering all that we're dealing with. Some of the good things going on is we have what sounds like a record as far as how few pieces of legislation have been introduced. We're about 50% of the legislation that we normally have during a regular year, and to me that's encouraging because the less legislation we have out there, the better, and I think that's what a lot of people want. But we got off to a slow start because of the ice storms, but the budget, we already have the supplemental budget in the Senate, which is faster than we normally have it in the Senate, and it looks like we're moving ahead very quickly on the regular budget. So I'm hoping that we'll be out by the first week or two of April.
What are some of the pieces of legislation that you're looking at introducing this year? Certain projects that maybe you have a special feeling about?
Well, I'm going to talk about a few of those pieces of legislation. I've introduced a piece of legislation that would it's a job creation. It's to put together a commission to study how we can bring more high-tech and science jobs into the state of Georgia. We lose a lot to states like North Carolina and California, but yet we are host of a lot of Fortune 500 companies and a lot of high-technical companies, as well as high-tech research institutions. So we have the foundations to be a leader in the technology and sciences field, but for some reason we don't have the infrastructure, the tax infrastructure, other pieces in place that attract those businesses here. So we train them and we get these startups and they go elsewhere. So this commission would actually look at long-term strategic planning to bring more high-tech jobs into the state. We're dealing with an immigration issue. I've also introduced a human life amendment that would define the person as being a human being at any stage of development, which would finally answer that question, when does life begin? We also have introduced Senate Resolution, or Senate Bill 98, which would open up the concealed carry permits to areas that are carrying firearms to those with concealed carry permits in areas that are currently banned, such as churches and certain government buildings. So that's beginning to move through the system. And there'll be some others that we introduce as we go along, but those are the things I think are the most important to people.
Georgians have seen some very interesting times lately in national and international news. Do you find any events out there that might particularly speak to Georgians and may affect our future?
Well, everything that's going on affects us in one way or the other because of being one of the larger states in the nation and one of the fastest growing. The economy, the national and world economy, has had a drastic effect on the state of Georgia. However, because we do have a balanced budget requirement in our Constitution, we are still maintaining a AAA bond rating, which is huge. We do not have deficits growing like the federal government does. So as we are recovering in this economy, Georgia is going to be set to be a leader of economic development because of where we're going to be positioned. Our government has been trimmed down. It's lean. It's mean. We're still holding a great credit rating, and we're becoming more attractive, especially we do things like these strategic plans for science and technology, start attracting other businesses, and overhauling our education system as we're starting to do right now. Georgia's going to be in a very good position to compete nationally and globally.
Anything else Georgians should be on the lookout for this year, coming from the government?
Well, I think you're going to see less coming out of the legislature. I think our legislature has listened to the shellacking that happened in November, that people were saying, we want more conservative legislation, we want less government. There's a lot of bills out there cutting the size and scope of government. We passed one today, which is Senate Resolution 20, a constitutional amendment that would cap the growth of government based on inflation and population increase. So as the economy recovers and the budget starts growing again, we're not going to be faced with this rampant growth of government that we had that just got too inflated. It will actually be limited. So these are some things that I think the people are looking for, and you'll see more limited government, less government intrusion in your lifestyle.